Shalom everyone, this is Daniel Stern once again, and today is March 30th, and the first thing that I wanted to do is to give a correction for something that I previously spoke about. So earlier I told you that on March 19th, President Trump gave a 2-month deadline to Iran regarding their decision whether to continue or dismantle their nuclear capabilities, ambitions, and so on. But I was mistaken. In fact, on March 19th is when the reports came out about a letter that President Trump wrote to the Iranians, to the Ayatollah Khamenei. And more than that, on March 19th, it was reported that on March 3rd, someone had already reported the letter, but we don't actually know when the letter was sent. We don't know when the clock started on that 2-month deadline. It could have been already in January, it could have been in February, it could have been in March. We don't know. Now, that means that you can't use March 19th as the starting point for this 2-month deadline, though I did hear that there's a talk about April 5th being the end of the deadline. So we'll have to wait and see. In any case, moving on. In Myanmar, there was an earthquake, 7.7, and over 1,000 people have already been located dead, and there's an estimated up to 10,000 dead, and currently there's about 2,500 wounded. It hit in the second largest city on that island nation. But let's move back towards us. Like last time, we're going to do a bit of a survey of the area. So in Lebanon, there were rockets fired to the north of Israel, and in response, unlike previous threats of hell being let loose on them, this time, in response, the IAF did airstrikes in the Dahiya, in Beirut, in the neighborhood that is under the control of Hezbollah. Now, the Lebanese army, the Lebanese government, the French government, Emmanuel Macron, all said how terrible it is. The Lebanese army arrested people that they claim were responsible for the attack. Hezbollah says that attacks such as this must stop. But of course, you can just see the change of the last few months with the IDF and with Israel's decisiveness once the ceasefire with Gaza went into place, and then after it ended, we are coming back strong. So that's just something to pay attention to. We'll see how that develops. An update on Syria. There's a new government. Today, Ashara al-Jolani founded a new government that replaced the existing one that was a leftover from the government that controlled Idlib and then over the last few months took over the whole country. Now it's an official new government. And a few positions were changed. His brother was removed. Someone who footage came up of him killing a woman in Idlib was also removed. A woman, there's one woman who's in charge of social affairs. She has been given the position, and the prime minister, whose position was canceled, was downgraded to the energy minister. So that's the news from Syria. Additionally, another Druze faction has joined the Sweda Druze army, so we'll see how that develops. I mentioned before in our long video about the Druze a lot about that. You can look back then to see what we were talking about. But that faction, is the Sweda army, is supported by Israel. So we will see what happens. Maybe in the future I'll talk about the Bedouins in Syria, which is a different faction that I have not yet mentioned, but there's interesting stuff going on there as well. Now, just quickly back to Israel. About half a year ago, Israel passed a law that related to Israel's cooperation with UNRWA within the Green Lines, within Israel. And basically, that law was that the cooperation would end. Unfortunately, nothing has happened. The cooperation is continuing. UNRWA has not been forced to give up their facilities. They still have all of the amenities that Israel provides them, be it electricity and water and everything else. And this is because, as often, bureaucracies and bureaucrats scuttle government intentions. 2 months ago, Prime Minister Netanyahu asked what's going on with it, why is it still going on, and it's still going on. So that's just worth noting. there's a new negotiation push. It's a continuation of Whitcliffe's thoughts and the Egyptian thoughts. Basically, the Hamas is offering to release 5 hostages, dead or alive, for 50 days of ceasefire. Israel is demanding 10 hostages for the same 50 days because in the previous ceasefire that was closer to the key of the number of hostages for the period of ceasefire that was given. So we'll see how that develops. Interestingly, we're jumping quickly to the UAE. About a couple of years ago, Iranian-backed individuals murdered Rabbi Tzvi Kugin in the United Arab Emirates, and they were caught, and just yesterday, all 3 of them were sentenced to death. And it's interesting to see that the UAE is sentencing to death individuals who are backed by Iran, who are in favor of the Iranian government. It shows that the times are changing, that the UAE is not afraid of Iran. So that's interesting. USAID. As I'm sure you know, in the last month or so, Elon Musk and Doge have been gutting different parts of the United States budget and spending, and one of the things that they have addressed is USAID, an organization that was founded during the Cold War to spread United States influence among foreign entities, and they have gutted most of its budget because they found that it is supporting all kinds of woke and progressive ideologies all over the world. And even more than that, I'll jump to the end. It's reported that it's been completely shut down and all its workers have been fired. But I want to go back to how it touches on Israel. Just the other day, the United States government, I believe the Senate, but it might be the Congress, said that 6 Israeli NGOs are under investigation as to their part in the riots against the government of Israel, and that they have been funded to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars by the Biden administration through USAID. So obviously, as someone who does not want Israel to be so affected by foreign entities who are against Israel, against Judaism, against Zionism, and against Western civilization, I am glad that the United States is doing this. And let's quickly jump to Turkey. Hundreds of thousands are protesting against Erdogan and his arrest of the mayor of Istanbul, who is his chief competitor, opponent in the coming elections. Hundreds of thousands have been there for a week protesting against Erdogan, who is a dictator. There's no getting around it. Turkey is, while it has elections, it's not exactly a democratic country anymore. Similar to the joke that in Egypt there's elections where 99% of people voted in the elections, and there was one ballot, and the ballot said, "Do you vote for the current president?" Answer, yes. So Turkey is not exactly a democracy. I quickly want to jump to Yemen and Iran just in regards to their threats. I've told you before that their threats are baloney, to be taken with a grain of salt. So yesterday, Iran has threatened Diego Garcia, the island, the British protectorate, which has a British and United States air base. Currently, we heard about it recently because the U.S. has moved 7 of its B-2 stealth Spirit bombers, as well as quite a few other forces, to the island, which is their launching position from which they'll be attacking Iran in the coming days, should they choose to do so. And the Iranians threatened to destroy Diego Garcia and attack that airbase. But here's the thing. This island, Diego Garcia, is 3,800 kilometers from Iran. And Iranian capabilities are, according to their admission, and that is questionable at best because it's probably not as good as they say, their capabilities are up to 3,000 kilometers. They can't reach 3,800 based on their own admission. And their drones, the missiles get 3,000 kilometers range, the drones 2,500. they cannot reach this island. So as I've often said before, when it comes to Islamic militant countries and organizations, they randomly make bombastic threats. And on that regard, the Houthis also today reported that they once again attacked the Harry S. Truman aircraft carrier. And if that were true, if every time they say it, they'd done it, that carrier would have been at the bottom of the ocean long ago. But thankfully, their threats and reports of success are nonsense. Similar to the many times they've threatened and reported succeeding to attack and strike against Israel's international airport, the Ben Gurion airport. If the Yemenite threats, the Houthi threats, were real, by now Israel would have capitulated and the residents of Gaza would be living in the Negev desert. So take that with a grain of salt. Now, I want to finish with a very short report from Argentina. And it is that the economic growth in the country has been reported at 6.5%, which is extremely well considering that for decades Argentina has not only been one of the weakest economies in the world, but is almost stereotypically known for being a terrible economy and bankrupt and nothing in the markets and so on and so forth. And their president, Javier Milei, who did a change in the economic system, pushed it through, seems to have been successful in this change. And I mention it to you because Javier Milei is also a very strong supporter of Israel, and not only of Israel, but of Judaism and of God. Javier Milei has often prayed from the Bible in public settings, and he is very strongly in favor of Israel and very strongly against Hamas and Hezbollah. And this is where I want to remind you of the blessing in Genesis that was given to Abraham, that I will bless those that bless you. And I want to remind all of you to pray for Israel and to pray for our work here spreading God's will among His people. And if you like this, please share it, please comment, please do your best to correct me. I want to be corrected because I want to give you accurate information. And God bless you all. Shalom.